Hi, guys, and welcome back to Shoot It Straight. I know it has been a very long time, but we're back officially. We've been talking about it for a little bit now, and we officially decided that it was time to bring it back. It was a good, rest. We had things going on, but ultimately, the love of the game, the love of football brought us back. And after this crazy season, it was only right for us to go ahead and jump in and talk about it. But before we get into anything specific, I'll go ahead and let G say a couple moments and go from there.
Absolutely. It was going to take something pretty spectacular to bring us back because we did take a good minute off. A lot of stuff has gone on in both of our lives personally, but what a season to really come back. I mean, the year that's kind of been brandished as the year that teams that don't win do win. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and the one to really crown this all, PSG of all teams, not to only win their first Champions League, but win the fucking treble of all things. So, I mean, it's a lot of interesting stuff, and it's we've always kept talking about it between ourselves, but we were like,
hmm
why don't we just do what we always did and just put the camera on and just
recording. Yeah,
have a good little chat, you know?
yeah, yeah. And ultimately, I mean, after this season, I mean, we did miss a lot of good recording time of bantering Real Madrid. I wish we would have been here for that,
I'm
but
glad we
you,
skipped
you you
that.
you survived out of that one.
That's
We
good.
would have had some definitely we would have had some good videos out of that. But ultimately, this PSG season, what a season! And for them to go ahead and win the Champions League just the other day, winning 5-0 against Inter. I'll go ahead and ask you first. I mean, what is your initial thoughts and reaction to PSG season as a whole, winning the treble, winning the Champions League 5-0? What do you think about this?
Overall, it was quite like saying it was unexpected beforehand is like kind of an understatement because no
Mhm,
one would have possibly picked PSG to win the Champions League, especially to go on the run that they did, especially with losing Kylian Mbappe. And even the
mhm,
start of the season, they weren't
mhm.
great. I mean, they weren't just some team that played like how they did from the start of the year to now. Man, what really changed everything for them was in January when they picked up Kvara from Napoli and just really he changed the team, just basically added another dynamic they didn't have, and he was able to be put in a spotlight out of Napoli, kind of on a bigger stage. He did play in the Champions League, but now with these level of players, especially with Dembele, kind of having a historic season for his standards. I mean, it just
Unexpected,
took
to say the least.
unexpected, especially with the what was the big news of Mbappe leaving. It's like, well, now what hole is going to be left of PSG, and they just look like, well, now they're going to play a bit more as a team, and they look spectacular. I
Mhm.
mean, that
Yeah,
style of play. I mean, we said when we saw the final, we haven't seen something like that in a really long time. I mean, it was kind of
mhm,
like old school Barca-esque street ball because
yeah.
they cut Inter alive, and we didn't think that. I mean, I thought it
Cut
was
them
going to be
open.
a very back and forth game, but it
Mhm.
just was a one-sided ass whooping of historic proportion. And I mean,
Yeah.
you got to tip your hat to him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think we knew going into this match that PSG were dynamic. I mean, we didn't quite know this the entire season. Referencing your point, I mean, at the beginning of the season, PSG struggled. I mean, of course, they were always winning in League One. Of course, with Luis Enrique. I mean, let me not. Hold on. Let me not even get into Luis Enrique because I got a whole little thing going on for him. But overall, for PSG, I mean, started off slow in the Champions League, losing to Arsenal, losing to Bayern. They started off slow, and then people questioned them. Ultimately, they just snuck in by the skin of their teeth. On the last group stage, or I don't even know what you want to call it anymore, game. Uh, where basically, I mean, it's this whole new format. But anyway, they snuck in by the skin of their teeth in like 22nd place or something like that. Ultimately, that handed them Liverpool in the round of 16. And I
Who I
mean,
believe, well, Liverpool were one. They were the one. I
all
know they
right,
were
yeah, what?
within the top three.
No, when I think number two because wasn't anyway.
It was one of them.
Oh, they were yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. They were number one. Barcelona was number two. Third was Arsenal. Fourth was Inter. The most irrelevant top four in football history.
The most useless ranking. But I mean that is knockout football. That's what we love it
Yeah,
for.
and I remember in the group text I mentioned it. Before that PSG Liverpool side, that tie. That I said PSG were on a run. I started to see what Luis Enrique was really cooking over there, and they started to really hit their stride and find form there. And I was like, I went out on a limb. I said, I think PSG are going to win this, and They lost 1-0, and I still stuck by it. And I said, they're going to go ahead and they're going to win this. I still believe because I thought they were just the best team. And I figured they were going to find a way. This team is just kind of something, they had this like aura almost about them where I just had a feeling that they were going to win. They were almost a team of destiny. And now, I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020, but it seems that the point was proven that maybe they were the team of destiny just for this year at least. But they very dynamic team. They were able to beat Liverpool on penalties. And then after that, beat Villa. Actually, Villa made that closer than I expected, beat Arsenal. But then this complete dismantling of Inter, I mean, I just didn't expect it to this level. I thought PSG were going to win the game, but Inter, when you think of Inter, you're thinking of a stout defensive unit, a team that's going to be difficult to break down. And of course, Barca were able to score goals on them. But the only difference between this game and that Barca game is that Inter was not able to score any goals on PSG, and they were able to ultimately score 7 across 2 legs on Barca. So that was ultimately the big thing there.
And I mean, realistically, we saw Inter. Well, I saw Inter as a bit of the older guard. I mean, these guys were the ones that were recently in the final.
Yeah, they had just lost.
They just lost
2 years ago.
And I mean, my way of thinking was, I mean, if you keep knocking at the door, someone's going to answer. And a lot of that core of that team was the same one that lost. And I mean, the belief is, sometimes those players that have never been to that game kind of can be caught off guard by the how big of a occasion it is. And since there's some players that are veterans in Inter that have been there for the first time already and they're doing it again, I figured that, look, they're gonna put up something. But my God Almighty, I did not expect for them to just completely fall over and die, because realistically their team is solid.
Yeah, and I remember after the Man City final, I said, like, this Inter run was kind of fluky, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't really take them quite as serious as we do now. Now, obviously, this season, coming off of that, they're able to do it again. You're taking them quite serious. You're like, dang, okay, this team really is that good. They did deserve to make it then. And ultimately, some way say they deserve to win that final against Man City if it wasn't for,
they
Lukaku.
Put up a far better game than that one.
They could have won that final. But ultimately, at the time, we were like, okay, Inter kind of had a fluky run. They're not going to make it again. They make it again this season just to get dismantled 5-0. That's the part that I didn't quite expect. They're the returning team. They have the older players. They have Lautaro Martinez, one of the best players in the world. They have a really good side.
The last final as well.
Yeah. And ultimately, some may say that the injuries did hurt Inter, because even, Lautaro Martinez, for example, you can't tell me he was 100% fit for that final. I mean, ultimately, he wasn't getting much service. I mean, because that midfield was getting absolutely ran through. But you can't tell me he was 100% fit. You can't tell me some of the other players were 100% fit. There's just no other explanation I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, watching that game, that was one you would expect, that Inter midfield, especially how they're set up in the system that they run, how compact they usually are. I mean, led by Barella. And to be honest, I said it when I was watching it, I thought Barella looked awful. Like, he just looked like he was in a different class, like below. Not usually say that in a good way. He just looked like he didn't belong with Vitinha, because Vitinha just ran the midfield. I mean, you're thinking that, and Fabian Ruiz. I mean, we saw him in the Euros, but just a quite underrated midfield. I mean, even I'm looking at Neves. I never really. I'm here to show my hand. I don't watch very much Ligue 1, so I don't really. I'm not familiar quite with his game, but I know Vitinha has been kind of an underrated guy, and now he's kind of on the world stage as, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. And Fabian Ruiz had always kind of been underrated, but for them to boss a midfield like that, you wouldn't have expected that from those two guys. But, it's just something that completely changed the game, and that's what I wouldn't have expected. We would have kind of thought maybe the front three, even though they were very involved, it was something that was carried through the midfield. I mean, the assist Vitinha had for the first goal was just, it looked like nobody was there. He just
it
saw
looked like
him,
a training session goal. You know what I mean?
It
was
like
so
he was
easy.
A cone.
Yeah.
It
was just too. It literally looked too easy, and the Hakimi is just there for the easy tap in. And I mean, we've been talking about it, and we haven't even mentioned the man of the match, Doué. We haven't even mentioned him.
I haven't mentioned Doué because
we haven't even mentioned him.
And before the match, people didn't even know if it was going to be Doué or what's
Barcola,
the other?
Right.
because they have two
Barcola.
youngsters on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know who was gonna Barcola or Due, and Due just kind of took the game over. It was something that,
Luis
I mean,
Enrique
I
made the
think
right call.
he was the youngest player since I think Patrick Kluivert back then to score in the final, and especially to get 2 goals and an assist. I mean, it was something that was.
Yeah.
I mean, you expected maybe Dembele, but Dembele played well. I mean, 2 assists,
He did. Two
kind of
assists.
leading into his season like campaign of making the run for the Ballon d'Or. But it was Due, and I kind of I think everybody kind of was a little disappointed he got subbed out kind of early-ish, even though the game was over. It's like you kind of wanted to see, could he get a hat
The
trick.
hat
I
trick.
mean,
Yeah.
it was very much on the table if he wasn't taken off. But I
Yeah.
mean, the statement was already made. I mean, PSG
Yeah.
had won that final already, so I mean, to be fair to them, and maybe that's a bit of this game's over, and they have the Club World Cup that's literally in a couple days to look forward to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
could be a bit of that.
And I mean, ultimately, I mean, we'll talk about that one in a second. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I mean, just going back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier, with the Luis Enrique, I said it a couple years back, and I know I mentioned this a couple days ago, so you'll remember this. But I said they made a crucial killer mistake of not hiring Luis Enrique back in 2023. They ended up hiring Pochettino. Luis Enrique wanted to join the club. He wanted to come to London. He wanted to be the Chelsea manager. And we said no and went ahead and hired Pochettino. Arguably the worst mistake I can think of recently. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes, but that might be the worst one. Ultimately, I know it has kind of worked itself out now. I mean, we're back in the Champions League. Enzo Maresca looks to be pretty decent. We'll see how he does next season. Ultimately, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in the upcoming days and months. But Luis Enrique, what a manager to win his second treble now. One of the second manager now, only next to Pep
Only to
Guardiola. Yeah, to win trebles with two different teams, of course, both winning with Barca, and then now he did it with Man City, and then Luis Enrique doing it with PSG. Two incredible achievements in and of itself, because that's two clubs that never had won the Champions League, and now they have at least one. Man City still have one. PSG, they now have one. We'll see who can get to two first. The two oil clubs, racing it out to see who can get they can get the second. But one thing, a lot of people have said, like the PSG comeback story, because also, you remember back in the day, like the Zlatan days, a lot of people didn't like PSG because they were just splashing the cash. And even more recently, Neymar, Messi, having Mbappe, all of these things, they're splashing the cash on the big name stars. Obviously now doing it differently. And even me, I can say PSG are a more likable side. But one thing I do agree with, and I haven't seen this point being made enough, is that let's not act like PSG are some underdogs here. I know they're a young team. I know that compared to Inter, you would have expected the more experienced team to come through. But this PSG is not an underdog story. They have Donnarumma, they have Hakimi, they have world-class players. And even this particular team, yes, they don't have Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, the big name players, but they spent a lot of money on this team. I mean, let's not act like these players were cheap. Kvaratskhelia, 74 million. Due, 52 million. Pacho, 42 million. Neves, 63 million. Those are players that were just crucial to winning this Champions League. And add that up real quick. What is that? Over 200 million. Almost 250 million euros. Let's not act like this is some underdog story. PSG ultimately splash in the cash. They're still the same oil club that they were. I have a lot of respect for them. That ultimately they've been able to kind of finally get over that hump, and they did it kind of the right way. I mean, buying young players and developing them. I think we can all have respect for that.
I think that's what is a little bit the more respectable point.
But I can respect, nobody expected Due to burst out on the scene like this. I mean, I wasn't watching much Rene football when he was 18 or whatever to really scout him or anything like that. So we didn't know exactly what he was going to be. And I can tell you that when they signed him for 52 million last summer, they didn't think he was going to be scoring 2 goals and getting 1 assist and winning them the Champions League. Even they wouldn't have dreamed that. So that's what kind of makes this team feel better. And even for me as well, I can say it does feel better. And I was rooting for PSG to win it. But I just do agree with the sentiment. This is not an underdog story. This is still a team that, I mean, if they win the Club World Cup, they're going to get even more of a fortune world chest to work with. And now that they've won it once, and they already have a beast team, I can imagine they're going to splash the cash where they need to on 1 or 2 positions, maybe upgrade and then go at it again. Because, I mean, ultimately, what's stopping them to go at it again next year with this young team? Luis Enrique still at the helm. they have the shot. I mean, of course, I mean, there's going to be a lot of other clubs in this new format. It's going to be tough to go back to back, and obviously, no one's ever done it besides Real Madrid, and then back in the day, Ajax and Bayern Munich.
Yeah, back
But
in the, yeah,
still,
the
this team,
European
this
Cup
team is
days.
going to be around, even if they can't win it again next year. They're going to be in and around. You would think at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always going to be a bit of a prisoner of the moment thing because when a team like that, especially how dominant they won, you're like, well, how could they ever lose? And we all thought that about Man City after they won, they beat Inter and won their treble. It's like, well, who's going to beat this team now? But
They
things
weren't
just
able to
happened.
win the Premier League again next season after that, I will say, but
Yeah, but people were like down said, well, they're probably going to go back to back because who can beat them? No
yeah,
one can beat them. And
yeah,
you're gonna get that feeling, but I mean the moves that the clubs are making, you see Madrid, you still see Barca making moves now. Currently, you see Liverpool, you see teams
yeah.
getting back
Liverpool.
out there, and I just think that anything can happen between 90 minutes, and as good as PSG are, don't think they're unbeatable. They're a great young side, and I think what's won them a bit of the respect back, especially with like me personally. I never wanted PSG to win when they had Neymar and they bought Messi and they got Wijnaldum, they got Donnarumma, when they first got those batch of guys, because I just thought it wasn't what the game was kind of about. I just felt like it was a bit like playing FIFA, you hop in, you do financial takeover with a club and you just buy everybody. So that's not how it felt. Like that you don't deserve. You can't just buy history. But
Yeah,
they decided to let's back off from this Galactico format of like let's buy the
it
best
wasn't
current
working.
available person, which wasn't working, and let's buy these guys that are promising. Vitinha, 50, and they're because realistically no players are you're gonna pick up for a bargain really anymore because just how the market is. But you pick up Dembele, who's a Barca reject. They don't want this guy no more. So well, we'll take
Yeah,
him. I mean, and
injuries,
they got
flop,
Dembele.
big money
Yeah, I mean, they
signing.
got Dembele for I mean, pretty good bargain. I remember it wasn't nothing crazy because I remember we were criticizing it about how did Barca not get upwards of 70 million. I mean, we looking at Dembele now still 100 million valued player.
Oh
But
yeah,
then
yeah,
I mean, even Doué's expensive, but most youngsters are. I mean, look at what Chelsea are paying for any 19-year-old out of Brazil. They'll pay 100
yeah.
million. So
And Dembele is
getting
he's only 28. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's still just still
and
there's still
picking up
time.
Doué at 18 years old for that much money, like for me, the price tag isn't what is what's being talked about as much because it's like, well, it's just another 19-year-old kid. A lot of clubs pay 50 plus million for young stars, but they don't turn out like Doué. So it's like when you're
Yeah,
able to hit and get things like that correct, especially like picking up Fabian Ruiz a couple of seasons back from Napoli, that's a savvy move. It's a good move because he's not someone you write home about that's going to sell out all the kits, but he's someone that just
yeah,
plays
yeah,
the position right, and that's what
yeah. You
kind of is
need
more
players like
respectful.
that.
You need guys like that, and that's the type of people that Luis Enrique loves. He loves people that can go in that midfield and that are not kind of they don't draw attention, but the game goes through them. Like I forget the old saying with like even they use for Busquets. It's like if you watch the game, you might not notice them, but the game goes through them. Like
Yeah,
so that's why I think it's a bit more respectable. But I mean, yeah, they spend money. Everybody spends money, but I'm not too pissed off
yeah,
about them
yeah.
finally winning it.
No, no, no. No, and me neither. And yes, that's the reality. Everybody spends money now, and I'm not too. I don't really care about the money per se, but I just said,
You
I
just don't
saw a
like
lot of
that
people.
people are like, oh well, this
PSG
is
is
like
not.
some
It's not
like
an
a
underdog.
Leicester
This is
City
not
or
Leicester City
something.
winning the Premier League. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not Leicester City
Yeah,
winning the Premier League. You know what I mean? This is still a massive club with a massive budget, Saudi oil money. A whole
oil
bunch of
money,
it. Well, not Saudi. I don't want to get it wrong. Qatar money. I think it's
Qatari, dude.
actually,
That's
yeah, the Qatari money. I don't want to get it wrong. But anyway, this is not an underdog story, but it's not an underdog story, and that's why I think this team is going to be back ultimately. I mean, in some way, shape, or form. And yes, they're going to bring in more players. And I'm not saying they're going to win the Champions League next season because nobody really goes back to back besides Real Madrid and with that crazy team that just kind of was you just couldn't beat them. I mean, I remember those days. I mean, you just literally couldn't beat them. They just had too much aura. You couldn't beat them no matter what you
too
did.
much.
And a
It,
little bit of
I mean,
referee help, a little bit of
let,
referee help, but
led by the one of the greatest sides ever. I mean, it would be very difficult to do so, but I mean, we'll have to
yeah,
see. I mean, that's what is exciting about a bit of the game now that there's a lot
Yeah.
of teams that you can say that are up for it. There's not one just runaway team.
But the crazy thing about football, and one of the reasons why we all love football, is that literally we just had the Champions League. We just had all of the league campaigns finish. The biggest tournament in Europe, the world, you could say, for club football. And now, just a couple days later, a couple days down the road from now, we got the Club World Cup with so many great teams. I'm not going to say all of the world's best teams because there are some sides that did miss out just because of the way the qualification system worked. But just in a couple days, we have a wonderful new tournament to watch with so many great teams. And ultimately, we're going to see who wins that. And we just saw the news today that whoever wins the Club World Cup gets to wear a special badge on their kit for 4 years. That is big. That's massive. I mean, I remember me and you, we would only get the kits if they had the specific Club World Cup
with the
badge on
yeah.
it. But ultimately, Club World Cup is starting just in a couple days. How are you feeling about that? Obviously, Real Madrid in the competition. We can touch on it a little bit. I mean, Real Madrid not the best season, coming off of. I'm not going to say trophyless because technically they did win 2 trophies, but none of the major trophies.
To say it. It's your favorite.
I do.
Trophyless season.
I do love to say it, but ultimately, they did win a couple trophies based on stuff they won last year.
They won 2 international trophies. The be fair, it was a Super Cup, and then it was kind of the old style Club World Cup one, like they kind of like the last ceremonial one, because basically
the last like that.
Yeah, the last one that's like that. So they completely revamped it, and now kind of fully came into, well, the Club World Cup is going to be like the actual
real World Cup, which is exciting as hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, because what is the most exciting tournament in the world? It's the World Cup. So it's like, well, why don't they just kind of adapt that to a club type style, which is what they're doing now. Now it's every 4 years, which makes it crazy. Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
But it makes the trophy more valuable.
Yeah, because I mean, before the old format it would be every year. I mean, that's why it's like those
whoever won the Champions League was going to get it.
Yeah, like whoever won the Champions League was going to win it. But now it's not like that, to where you could win. Like PSG could easily have just won the Champions League, and they could lose in the Club World Cup. Because one, it's set up to not. There's not 2 legs. It's just one and done, like the World Cup. So, I mean, realistically, like we said, anything could happen. And with so many great teams. Oof. Yeah, and you're gonna see matchups you possibly have never seen before. I mean, I would have never thought I'm gonna see Al Hilal versus Real Madrid in a competitive
to be fair, just a couple years ago they played in the old cool style Club World Cup final. Remember that?
Yeah, but it's different to where like this is like. Well, it's going to be right now. It's a little too early to say. Oh, it's such a prestigious trophy, but that's what it's going to be like. I think so. 8 years, 12 years, 13 years from now, it's going to be kind of held a little bit more high prestige. I think that's the whole idea. I mean, that's why they're offering like a war chest of like 150 million, because they want the clubs that try to send. Okay, you got to send everybody. Like this isn't like a. You
need to bring players specifically for the tournament.
Yeah, you got to keep this tournament in mind. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. I mean, especially with Real Madrid, it's going to be, because it feels like the new season's coming already, especially when Real Madrid jumped on the moment of already changing the manager, getting Xabi Alonso in, and making signings immediately. So, I mean, it's not. It gives me optimism, because it's like, well, it's going to be a different team, different system. I don't know if it's going to be completely. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be down pat. Like they're going to be 100% on the note, but it should be fucking better. I mean, I'd hope it'd be better. And
yeah,
I mean, it'll be interesting.
Well, and it's crazy, not to make it just talking about Real Madrid here, but it's crazy because it's Xabi Alonso really straight into the fire, because we all know Florentino Perez really wants this trophy. I mean, I'm sure he wants the 150 odd million as well, but it's been widely reported that Florentino Perez really wants to be the first team to win this new style Club World Cup, be the only one to have the trophy, obviously to go along with the European royalty status and the 15 Champions Leagues. And we've all seen that walkway, little Hall of Fame thing that all the new signings take a photo of with the 15 Champions Leagues. Which, I'm not going to lie, I hate Real Madrid, but that is incredible aura, I'm not going to lie. And adding the Club World Cup trophy somewhere into that, dungeon almost of trophy room. Yeah, they'd have to make a special cabinet or something for it in that room. But I don't even know if there's any more room in it at this point. They're gonna have to expand probably. Well, that's probably what they got the new Bernabeu for. But anyway, Xabi Alonso really straight into the ringer, and I'm not going to say that if they flop in the Club World Cup and they lose, he's getting sacked already or anything like that. But the pressure could be on. I mean, depending on how they perform. I mean, we have seen it back a couple seasons back. Was it 2019? I think 2020 with Lopetegui, where it started off really bad, and Real Madrid were quick to pull the trigger. I'm not saying they're going to do the same with Xabi Alonso, but if they go down sad again, in the Club World Cup, we can't forget that they're still coming off of signing Mbappe. You're adding him to a Champions League winning team last season. They didn't win the Copa del Rey, La Liga, or the Champions League. Got embarrassed 4 times by Barcelona. If they bring in Xabi Alonso and they kind of keep getting embarrassed, I don't think Florentino Perez is going to have too much patience. That's the only thing. And it's going to be tough for Xabi Alonso to kind of get this team's buy-in, because this is big name players that we're talking about. And yes, he has won a lot throughout his career as a player, and also he won. We went on invincible in the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen, something that ultimately nobody would have expected. If you're thinking anyone's going to go invincible in the Bundesliga, it's going to be Bayern. That's something they never did in their incredible run of winning Bundesliga titles for, I don't even know, like a decade straight or something.
They've had a treble team. They've had a treble team.
They've had 2 treble teams. Yeah, they've had 2.
I mean,
that's something you would have expected them. But I'm not saying he's on the hot seat already or he's going to be, but I'm just saying, and I know you can admit as well, he's really being thrown straight into the ringer here, and it's like it's time to perform, and you better get it around and turn this around quickly. And ultimately, they want to win this tournament.
I mean, dude, he doesn't even get a preseason. I mean,
yeah,
there is
not
no
even a preseason.
He gets no preseason.
He's barely met some of these guys, and it's already boom, you have to win this tournament, otherwise you're on the hot seat.
Yeah. Right into it with new signings. I mean, he's got Trent, he's got Dean Hoyce. I mean, he's got and they're working on currently getting another a wing back. Are they trying to get the Benfica guy? The Benfica. Honestly, I don't watch much Benfica.
I forget his name. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. To be honest, I haven't seen much of anything.
I haven't been watching much of the Portuguese league, but my first choice, obviously, I thought they'd get Theo Hernandez, but I guess he's too old for 27. I mean, at 27 years old, he's basically, I don't know, ancient,
Saudi,
but
apparently.
He's going to Saudi. But I mean, I think he's going to bring everything that this team needs. I mean, we're still yet to completely know if he's going to play his standard like 3 at the back with his wing backs and 2 pivots and 3 up front. Because I mean, at Leverkusen, it was just a complete different style. I mean, he had players like Xhaka in the midfield. I mean,
Real Madrid really play ever.
Yeah,
the last time Real Madrid have played 3 at the back, I
think that was Jose Mourinho.
Maybe.
I'm not sure, because I mean, this club has always kind of been like it's rich history of 4-3-3, which Xavi has said. I mean, in the presser before, because they asked him what he plans to play, and he said, I mean, look, realistically, things that worked in Leverkusen might not work here. I mean, so he's kind of open to the fact that he's open to anything, to trying anything. But you could imagine that that's what he would want to try, and I think obviously Real Madrid have the personnel to do so, and that's what this team has really been lacking. They've been lacking structure, because with the way Carlo is, I mean, Carlo is one of the greatest managers of all time. I think he's, I mean, it's hard to not have him within the top 3. I mean, he's personally, personally for me, he's I mean, it's like Pep, him, and Sir Alex for me personally, but his style doesn't work with young players. You saw him get the best out of teams when they're these like legends of the game. I mean, you saw him with Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro, with Benzema, with these guys like that's led by the veterans, by the best players are veterans. And then when it switched over to kind of, well, your best players are now 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds, the same talking points that would work for Toni Kroos and was not going to work for Jude Bellingham. Like telling Jude Bellingham, yo, can you just play some football right now? Might not work. He might not really get what you're saying. He's like,
and when you still have Toni Kroos in the lineup, you can get away with saying that, and you can have Jude, and Kroos will kind of, fix
Kroos
it up from there.
Will be the voice.
He was their real anchor.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy that kind of that was the voice of the coach on there, and we still have Luka Modric, but I mean,
He was the
it's
manager
different.
basically on the
Yeah,
pitch. Yeah.
it was different, especially in the season. You don't have Carvajal. There's another voice that you're missing. You replace him with a damn near terrorist with Lucas Vasquez. But I mean,
Oh man.
it's just something that didn't work. And I think Xavi's going to bring that structure. I think he's someone that the players can respect, especially within that midfield, within the egos of Jude Bellingham, the egos of Vinny and Rodrigo
Yeah.
and Mbappe. That's somebody that you can look to, Xavi, who's won everything with the club and has shown pedigree that, well, I can win with teams that shouldn't win. I've made
Yeah.
teams competitive
In
that should
leagues,
not
yeah.
be competitive. But
Yeah.
now that you have the war chest, you have all the guys, you should be able to make that work. So I mean, that is to me what I'm most excited to see. But I mean, it's not gonna be easy. I mean, because you have Inter, you have PSG, you have Liverpool.
And that's the next question. That's what I was literally just waiting for you to finish to ask you, and it's kind of a perfect segue, I think. Do you consider them the favorite? Do you think that they are going to win this tournament? I mean, where do you really stand on that?
I don't think they're the favorite. I mean, I've talked to a couple buddies that say, oh yeah, well yeah, Real Madrid, and I mean they're Madrid fans, and obviously I fancy Madrid in it. But I think it would be kind of disrespectful for what we just saw PSG do in the Champions League final to enter to be like, well, Madrid are the favorite after they've kind of played like shit. Even though they've changed everything, we haven't even seen anything from that team. I haven't even seen a training session where Xavi's leading yet. So I mean, it's hard to say definitively. Yes, Real Madrid is going to win this tournament, but I think they're definitely within they're in the mix. I think if they were to play PSG, I mean, obviously not going to be feeling too great about that, but we're just going to have to see. I think right now the favorite is PSG. It has to be PSG for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think Madrid, if they didn't make the moves they did now, it would just be pointless. I would just kind of wonder why they're even going to go to this. But I definitely think they're in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, of course they are definitely in the mix. I would say, the thing with Real Madrid is we all know that the club just kind of has that certain little aura. I mean, specifically in the Champions League, but also just the big name players that they have. I mean, even, especially right now, Vinny, Mbappe. When you just kind of think of the team, you're like, oh yeah, they should be the favorites in any competition that they play in. I mean, they just have that level of star power, and we've seen them win so much. Even this group of players, but anyone that's been watching football for the past forever, essentially, because they've been winning forever, but especially just it feels like in the past 10 years they have just won so much, specifically in Europe, that I just saw the thing. There's been 6 different Champions League winners in the past 10 years, and it was basically 5 teams won it once, and then Real Madrid won it 5 times. So I mean that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, within this last decade, it's definitely been Madrid, but I mean, this is a different style competition because now I think it's definitely going to be very different because I mean, especially Real Madrid can't rely on the second leg to make a comeback. So it's that one within 90 minutes. You can't lose because then there's no comeback to making there's no coming back to the Bernabeu. There's no going. It's a neutral pitch. I mean, they're coming to the States. They're coming to our backyards. They're going to be. They're subjected to come play on our American football fields for some games.
Hopefully, there's no injuries.
Hopefully there's no injuries. But I mean, I think it's going to be
the most used word in the dressing room this week was remontada.
Remontada. But I mean,
none of that in the Club World Cup.
None of that in the Club World Cup at all. But I mean, to be fair, you have something to actually watch too, because Chelsea are actually in the Club World Cup. And
that's the crazy thing, right?
There's still signings to make. I mean, it's this kind of like a 2-part. Yeah, like a 2-parted thing. I mean, what are your expectations? Obviously, I think it would be stupid if you thought they could win it. But I mean, what do you expect to get out of this tournament in the Club World Cup? Well, I mean, what are your expectations going into it?
Well, I would say it's fair to say with this new Club World Cup style, I mean, we did see rarely in the old Club World Cup style where in that final, because it happened to Chelsea specifically. I mean, I know you remember the Paulo Guerrero goal in the 2012 FIFA Club World Cup, where Chelsea lost to that Club World Cup. So we did see it before, but I think it's fair to say, barring like I don't even know, some crazy miracle, Leicester City type thing, that one of the European sides that's in the Club World Cup is going to win it. And that puts Chelsea kind of in that batch. I mean, you've got Atletico Madrid, PSG, Bayern, Chelsea, Inter, Dortmund, Juventus, Man City, and then Real Madrid. One of those teams is going to win it ultimately. I mean, it's not going to be Inter Miami. It's just not. You know what I mean? It's not going to be Al Hilal. It's just when you got that many in a one-off game against one of those teams in the final, it could have happened. When you've got to go through 3 or 4 of those teams to win, to get to the final and win the final, it's looking very unlikely. Even no matter how much Saudi money that they spend, it's just not going to happen. There's just levels to this. So Chelsea does realistically have a chance. I mean, you look at some of those teams. I mean, Juventus is not the team that they used to be. I mean, let's just be honest. They are coming in with a lot of question marks. So, I mean, I don't think they're really. I think Chelsea would beat Juventus if they play right now. Juventus is kind of they're out of the question. Bayern is tough. Dortmund, I think we'd beat Dortmund. So I mean, they are there. They are in and around there. They could do it if they played PSG. Which when you look at the bracket, if they finish top of the group, which they should, I think the way the bracket goes, that in the quarterfinals, they would play PSG. PSG probably most definitely will make it that far. And if you're kind of assuming that there's not going to be that many upsets, it's fair to say that you very easily would see a Chelsea PSG quarterfinal in a one-off game. We did just say it's football. Anything can happen. Would I give Chelsea a chance to win that game? Yeah, I'd give them a chance to win that game. Maybe well, depending on if they make any crazy. I mean, if they get Maignan in, I don't know, 40% chance. I mean, it's football. I don't know, 40, 35% chance. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, I know they just won the Champions League, but I mean, it could happen. Yeah, I mean, it could happen. We're not a bad team. You know what I mean? We have good players. We've just made the top 4. I know PSG just won the Champions League, and then they're looking unbeatable. But even you just said, they're looking unbeatable now. But this is a new tournament. It's football. Anything can happen in 90 minutes. We have enough good players with enough quality that in the one-off moment, we can make a moment of brilliance. And we have a solid defense now under Enzo Maresca to where you could say we can defend enough to where we need to. I mean, if we get Maignan in, I'd feel a little bit more confident because we're not going to, or at least hopefully have quite as many goalkeeping errors, or at least that risk of that happening.
That was an issue. That was a huge issue.
I mean, ultimately, I want the club to go as far as possible because that's going to be more prize money. And even making the quarterfinals, you get a good chunk of change. You know what I mean? Even making the final and losing, you get a lot of money. And obviously winning it, you're getting like 150 million or something like that. So I want them to go ultimately as far as possible. Hopefully this money gets, reinvested into the squad, because now is the time where we kind of need to make those statement signings for the Champions League in this upcoming season where, realistically, the Premier League is there. I mean, Liverpool are going to be tough and they're signing, reinforcements. They've got Wirtz coming in, but the Premier League is there. And I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Champions League? I mean, before the season started or even halfway through the Champions League campaign, no one would have said PSG were going to win it, and they won it. When we won it in 2021, you probably wouldn't have expected us to win it. When we won it against Bayern back in the day in 2012, you wouldn't have expected. So realistically, anything can happen in football. So I give us a chance ultimately in the Club World Cup. They were not the favorites, probably not even in the top 3 for favorites, but we are Chelsea Football Club. We have that European pedigree, not quite Real Madrid's level, but we do have at least, we're definitely the pride of London. We have European pedigree. We're the only club to have won it all. Even Real Madrid can't say that. So we've won it all. So what's stopping us from winning the first Club World Cup? I mean, it's not looking.
I don't think a lot of clubs are going to make
super likely, but well.
But I mean, I'm just excited for the matchups. I mean, thinking of that PSG Chelsea, we haven't seen that since when, like 2015.
A while ago.
It's been almost 10
years. I remember we knocked them out back in the day with one of those Zlatan, Thiago Silva, those type of teams that, back the old PSG that nobody liked. We were one of the teams that knocked them out, where it was like PSG, this could be the year, and then they get knocked out by a team that's probably on paper supposed to be worse than them, which that happened a lot over the years. Same thing with Man City, and it's that's why it was kind of funny for them to ultimately to finally get over the hump and win it, like both against Inter, of course. So.
Yeah, I mean, Inter's just handing out people their first Champions League wins. I mean, that's
specifically
gotta be,
Munich, the city. Munich. I don't know if you saw that stat.
Oh yeah. I forgot I saw that Munich is very kind to first time winners, man. I mean, I think that
Chelsea. I've seen it happen.
It was Chelsea. It was Dortmund and
with Celtic. I think back in the day.
I think so. I forget where I saw it, but I mean, it's gonna be. I have high hopes for the tournament. I mean, I hope it goes well because I think the big contention was, I mean, how many games are we gonna force these players to play? Because I mean,
Yeah,
realistically, this weekend is gonna be the Nations League.
the Nations
So
League.
basically, yeah, I mean, all the Spanish and French players are gonna be kind of. I mean, that game's
Portuguese and
getting
German
hyped
as
up.
well.
Yeah, I mean that game's getting hyped up as a fucking Ballon d'Or decider. I mean, for Christ's sake. So
The Nations League has went from irrelevant to all of a sudden good enough to decide the Ballon d'Or. That's
yeah,
absurd in and of
I
itself. We can
don't.
talk a little bit about that.
I mean, and we all know the absurdity of why that's happened. It's because of one player. But I mean, look, it's unprecedented. I mean, yeah, the Nations League was always looked at as a Mickey Mouse nothing trophy. But now when it
Remember when
comes to
Ronaldo won it? I said,
Ronaldo
"Oh, it's
won
a
it, and no
Mickey
one
Mouse
gave a
trophy."
shit.
No,
No one give a shit.
everyone was, yeah. And I'm
Bo-
not even a Ronaldo guy. I'm a Messi guy. But I mean, come on, let's be honest here. When Ronaldo won that, everyone was shitting on it. Oh, it's not a real
and,
European trophy, whatever.
and Mbappe and Benzema won it. Who gives a shit? I mean, people are probably forgot that even happened. But now,
I guess Mbappe should have won the Ballon d'Or.
And now some, it comes down to a 17-year-old kid that could be like one of his crowning moments of his campaign. But I don't know. It's whatever agenda they wanna push. But it's just a lot of football that's going to be going on the players. But I think with the idea that obviously the Club World Cup is only every 4 years, so this is not something they're going to have to deal with next season. So it's like, well, it'll be fine. They got to play a little extra.
But do you think that do you think the Ballon d'Or has kind of yet to be decided still? Because I mean, you think historically, after the Champions League, you kind of had a feeling who was going to win it unless there was a World Cup or a Euro. But now, I mean, we kind of look at this season and you're it's still kind of 50-50, I would say, or like there's a couple players that, I think Rafinha's kind of fallen off a little bit, but now it kind of seems to be Yamal versus Dembele, who's going to win it out of those two. And even after Dembele just won the Champions League, it still doesn't seem like there's a clear consensus. And still, do you think it's kind of still yet to come? Like, do you really think it's going to come down to potentially what happens in the Nations League when they face each other this weekend? And then ultimately, we know PSG playing in the Club World Cup. If they're able to win that as well, and Dembele has an amazing tournament, that surely would be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But do you think that these tournaments upcoming are still going to decide that? I think it's still like to be determined, essentially.
I think realistically, no. I mean, I don't. I know that Yamal's PR is unreal. I mean, the Barcelona fans that have been starved for years of an actual like pretty world-class player, and they finally have him, and he's 17 years old, and it's the greatest thing since the discoverer of fire. I mean, it's something unbelievable to them. But I mean, you have to look at it realistically. Yeah, Barcelona did win everything domestically, but that's not what they've been waiting for. I mean, I haven't heard a Barca fan say, man, I've been waiting for 10 years now to win everything domestically. They want the Champions League. I mean, realistically,
they're not for the La Liga title.
Yeah, they're not waiting 10 years for the domestic treble. That's not what they're. That's not what they're. Oh, we play for 6. We wear 5, play for 6, concede 7. Like that's what they want. They want the Champions League, and they didn't get it. Like, because people have to think of this in context, and I know that's that word context is a hard word for Barcelona fans to understand, but to have one of the best teams you've had in years. I mean, it's a team. This team is an all-time great Barca team, and in a year where teams won trophies where they didn't win trophies, and you still couldn't win the Champions League. I mean, you had 3 Ballon d'Or contenders. I mean, this is another issue that I think is against the Yamal thing, that every Barca fan was yelling that Rafinha is actually the Ballon d'Or candidate. I mean, look at his goals per game. He led the Champions League in goals and assists. I mean, this guy is a Ballon d'Or guy. And then up until the day they played the first leg of Inter and the second leg of Inter, they were like, well, actually, we think it's Yamal.
Right, let's give it to Yamal.
Yeah, let's give it to Yamal, and let's try and switch the PR, because I mean, it's just purely by the eye test. I mean, when you watch the games, yeah, Rafinha's pretty good, but if you look at the stat sheet, you would think he's the best player ever. Is anybody going to say that this season, this campaign from Rafinha is more impressive than Ronaldo's that he tied? His goals that he tied? No one would say that, because there was cameras. This is not like Pele's mysterious goals that he scored against the Coast Guard. There was cameras. They recorded what happened. Like we all saw what happened. And by the eye test, Cristiano Ronaldo was unreal level. Yeah, 13 goals, same as Rafinha, but they're not made the same. They're not. And that's why they were so quickly able to switch it to, oh, well, Rafinha, no, to Yamal. And Yamal, yes, he's world class. He's a great player. No, like, because people want to think it's disrespectful to say, oh, well, I don't think he's the Ballon d'Or winner. Just because you're 17 years old, you have 9 league goals, does that mean you are a Ballon d'Or contender? I mean, to me, it's just a bit ridiculous because it's just too convoluted. I mean, you have, because people were saying, oh, what about Pedri? What about he's fully fit now, guys? I mean, look,
Best midfielder in the world, apparently.
that fielder, like he turns the ball like 360, like a guy I never seen before. Like I don't look, and you say all that, and what did they win the Champions League with these 3 Ballon d'Or contenders? No, I mean, people want to say that, well, it wasn't Yamal's fault, it wasn't this fault. I mean, well, he was on the damn team. I mean, I saw what he did towards the end of the game. He had shots to win that game, and
it's true. It is true. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, it's like, well, you're holding him to too high a standard. No, I'm holding him to what I think he is. I think he's a top 5. He's top 5, top 10 player in the world. But if you want,
Ballon d'Or is the highest standard you can get. I mean,
it's the highest standard. So if you want to say he's a Ballon d'Or winner, I would. Well, me personally, I think
I would hope you're holding him to a high standard.
I think he would score that goal, and him not pulling through in that moment shows, well, I don't think, maybe he's just quite not there yet. And it just opens a huge can of worms. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about it, because, like, well, Messi and Ronaldo didn't win the Champions League every time they won a Ballon d'Or. Well, fucking hell, are we going to hold Yamal to the same standards of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi already? That kind of is ridiculous. He's a great player, but he's
still
what
17
Dembele.
years old, and right. Obviously we know and we hope, of course. I mean, we no injuries for his career or anything like that. Hope he's able to play for as long as possible, because we have seen in the past those players that start off super young, by the time they get to like 21, they basically have already had a full career almost for some players in there. Yeah, and they're only 22, 23 years old, and they've already had 8 years under their belt or something like that, something crazy like that. We've seen it, and they already start to lose the legs, and they're still only 23, and you're like, what? This is unbelievable. Why is my superstar getting injured? We've seen it happen before. Ultimately, they kind of have that fall off a little bit earlier because their career is kind of different. It's just kind of pushed back almost. But anyway, my point, Yamal, this season, look, Yamal's going to have, I think, plenty of seasons to where he's going to be in and around the Ballon d'Or. Barca are going to be good with him, you would imagine, for the foreseeable future. They're only going to get better next season. I think they're one of, if not the favorite, to kind of compete and be in and around the Champions League title again. I would say, I mean, Madrid are there, especially in La Liga, and it's always going to be kind of that 1-2 battle. Who's going to get it, Barca or Madrid? In some years, Atletico are kind of able to get it when those two have a down year, which does happen. We've seen it. But ultimately, Yamal is going to have a lot more seasons. And this season, it wouldn't be right, I think, in my opinion, for him to get that Ballon d'Or. Look, he's a great player. He's had great performances. Inter was an amazing performance. And I think, obviously, if they had won the Champions League, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, because we'd be saying someone from Barcelona is going to win the Ballon d'Or.
I mean,
yeah, it would be one of them. And I think ultimately, obviously, with this PR that he's getting to where they lost, he's still in the conversation that it probably would have been Yamal. Yamal is going to have plenty of chances. He's only 17. I just don't think this is the year for him to win the Ballon d'Or. Dembele, look, I think that regardless of what happens in the Club World Cup or the Nations League, he's already won the quadruple. He's already scored the most goals, get the most assists on that team. The biggest contributor to a quadruple winning team, bringing PSG their first Champions League title in a season when other clubs kind of had a down year, you may say. Some of those other star players that were considering Ballon d'Or favorites didn't quite have the years they were expecting in terms of winning the trophies or the goals and assists that they were expecting. You look at like Mbappe, for example, you would have considered him a Ballon d'Or favorite at the start of the year. I think he's still going to finish maybe even on the podium, number 3 spot or something like that. But he didn't win any. We didn't win any trophies besides the Club World Cup and the Super Cup. UEFA Super Cup. You're not going to win the Ballon d'Or with that. You're not going to win the Ballon d'Or when you didn't win the Champions League, the Copa del Rey, for God's sake. You didn't win anything besides the 2 trophies that you earned basically for last season. You're not going to win the Ballon d'Or with that. And even though we just saw that tweet, and I was going to actually touch on that in a second. But to my point, a lot of teams and players kind of had a down year, and PSG were able to step up, and this was their year, and it concluding the year of people who don't win trophies or teams that don't win trophies. This is Dembele's year, and ultimately, I think that they have a good chance to go on and win the Club World Cup, and by then, even with potentially a Nations League and a Club World Cup on top of what he's already won, where he's already probably the deserving winner, it's going to be a no-brainer. And Yamal will be second, and that's incredible. And I think next year he's going to be right there as potentially the favorite, but it's just not going to be this year. I think I just can't. It would be an injustice to Dembele and what that PSG team was able to accomplish, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not disrespectful to say that he's not the best player in the world, man. I mean, people want to be so up in arms, and they're like, well, he's 17 years old. Who gives a shit? I mean, realistically, we're not talking about age. We're talking about the best player.
Like that.
And I know he had a weird he had a weird comment about, well, I think the Ballon d'Or is the best player per season, not the best person, like basically per month. This is not him verbatim, but basically on the lines that I think he thinks the Ballon d'Or is the person that is the best player within the whole season, not just per month or per match, which I mean, I just think is a bit annoying. I mean, because the question he was basically asked is who would he vote for the Ballon d'Or, and he just rambles on about what he thinks the Ballon d'Or is, which is not the question. I mean, he could have just said his teammate or any of his two teammates that we're talking about, but let alone he wants to make it kind of about him and if you want to bring it down to the match, we'll play for it, brother. You're not gonna if you could win the Nations League, that's fine. PSG could easily win the Club World Cup, and then who gives a shit? I mean, it's gonna be Dembele. Dembele won like you said, the quadruple, won the treble, and he brought PSG their first Champions League ever, and played well in the final. He got two assists.
He had 2 assists. I mean, 2 assists.
I mean, he's been the guy who showed up at those moments, and everybody wants to be able to Inter robbed us of a good final that would have been Barca versus PSG. For Christ's sake, Inter scored 7 on them. I don't know what would have possibly. So, well, you know what? Get Barca in there. They would have done better. Look, it's not.
Luis Enrique would have stopped after 3 because of the love of Barca, but that would have been about it.
It would have brought them to tears, man. I mean, they would have annihilated them. So that's not their problem. I mean, it's not PSG's problem that they didn't get a chance. Dembele didn't get a chance to beat him directly. But are we gonna act like that France isn't fucking so stacked right now? Because like he wants to make it seem like, well, it's gonna be Dembele versus Yamal. I understand it. Mbappe's French. Doué is French. Like Barcola is French.
Can score a hat trick. You know what I mean? It's not gonna matter what Dembele or Yamal did. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about Doué. Doué is gonna play. He's gonna start in that game. I would be surprised if he doesn't. If not, he's gonna be a part of that game. I mean, but France is stacked right now. And look, and obviously Spain is good and all, but I mean that there's just something about, especially the form that every French player is in right now. I just don't see it really as that, and that's going to just be another thing that, well, if France beat Spain, so, well, you know, how could you expect Yamal to compete against Dembele and Mbappe and Doué? I mean, are we really? That's what it's going to switch to. But I mean, I don't think the Nations League is going to decide the Ballon d'Or. I think it's Dembele for this season, and he's going to have other chances to win it, but it's going to have to come at the price of finally delivering what Messi said would be coming back to the Camp Nou like 10 years ago now.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at the projected lineups or whatever. And I mean, the thing about this is that this game could be decided and neither player could really have. I mean, look, you would anticipate both players are going to have a massive impact in the game, but there's enough quality on both of these teams, obviously, to where Yamal and Dembele both could have an average game to their standards, and either team could still win by 3 or 4 goals or something like that. But there's so much quality. I mean, Mbappe could score 3, and it's not gonna, like I said, it's not gonna really matter. I just think, regardless of what happens in those games, I don't think that's gonna really play much of an impact, because I think it's already pretty much decided. And I know we saw that post, and I mean, I think I know your opinion, of course, but we saw that post that if Mbappe and Real Madrid, if they have a good Club World Cup and he wins the Nations League, let's say, you know, Mbappe wins the Nations League with France, has a great semifinal and final, maybe a hat trick, I don't know, maybe wins the best player, the man of the match, or something like that. I don't know what exactly the award would be for the Nations League, and then obviously goes to the Club World Cup, has an amazing tournament there, wins it potentially.
Wins it, yeah.
You're giving Mbappe any chance? I mean, let's not act like he didn't have a good season. He won the Pichichi, had an incredible first.
He won the European Golden Boot as well. I mean,
won the European Golden Boot, most goals in a debut season in Real Madrid history, and that's pretty incredible when you think about it. I mean, given the names that have come to Real Madrid and had that debut season, Ronaldo, so many great players.
And to add to the top of the fact,
he obviously didn't win the trophies.
The first 4 months he was awful. First 4 months he heavily struggled and then turned it on late. I mean,
the second year.
I don't know. But for me, it'd be really a stretch. I mean, yeah, you look at it was Real Madrid the team really great? Not exactly to what you would expect them, but Mbappe himself individually has been great. I mean, European Golden Boot, and if he can deliver in the Nations League and then go to the Club World Cup and win Player of the Tournament, either Player of the Tournament, Golden Boot, or and just directly win it, he could. I think he could do that. I would definitely put him above Yamal. If he were to do that, we're talking about hypothetically here, and I know we're working with hypotheticals. If he were to do that, 100% he's above Yamal. I'm not gonna hold the friggin' Barca beat Madrid 4 times in a row. I mean, well, why can't we play 5 times in a row in the Club World Cup? Because they couldn't make it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they want to hold what happened before, but we're talking about the now. I mean, well, let's see if Yamal beats them now in France, and then we'll see what Mbappe does in the Club World Cup. But I mean, realistically, I think there's a chance that he could solidify his top within the top 3, but I think it's still Dembele. Even if you were to do that, I think it's got to be Dembele. I mean, to win everything, every trophy you competed for within the season.
I just started thinking, you know how mad it is? He told us told anybody a couple years back that Dembele would be winning a Ballon d'Or before Mbappe. You know how mad that is.
I thought I was gonna say this shit with Vinny last year. This is literally the conversation I had, but with the exchange of Vinny, it's like, everybody was like, oh, it's going to be Haaland and Mbappe just passing it back and forth for the next one. And Haaland's kind of not been talked about at all this season. And Mbappe's been good.
Had a down year. Yeah.
But hasn't won the trophies he's needed. And now Dembele looks like he's going to be the one to win it out of before everybody. So, I mean, it's interesting, but I mean, that's just how it's going to play out. I mean, no one thought Rodri was going to win it. I mean, realistically, Rodri shouldn't have won it, but he did. Crazy. So,
because back in the Dortmund days, Dembele was the wonder kid, and it was if you had told somebody then Dembele was going to win 1 Ballon d'Or, you'd say only 1. I mean, this guy, he was the guy. We thought he was going to Barca to be. He was going to get.
He was the Neymar replacement.
Messi was going to take him under his wing. The Neymar replacement. He was going to be the next big thing for Barca. We were expecting Ballon d'Ors, crazy seasons, all of that. Bring the Champions League back to the Camp Nou. All this. That's what we were expecting. Come on, Dembele. And then ultimately, just never quite came to fruition. I think back. I think I've said this before. The defining moment for Barca for Dembele at Barca was that
the chance he missed.
The chance against Liverpool, ultimately, that I'm not going to say that cost him, but ultimately you put that away. The whole thing is different. You know what I mean? And it was an egregious miss.
I always think it's so silly that they were.
That's the defining moment.
They were 3-0 up. But
I remember I watched it live. We were watching it live, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe we missed that. But it's going to be irrelevant. Barca are still going to go through it. I was like, they're going to win the Champions League that year. And ultimately, they would have won the Champions League that year. They would have been playing freaking Spurs in the final. I mean, dang, that would have been a gimme. Messi would have had another one. I mean, that was the one. I mean, when you think recently, probably besides this one, I mean, you think back and it's like, that's the one where it was Barca's to lose. I mean, it was either going to be Ajax or Tottenham in the final. All you had to do was beat Liverpool, and it's a good Liverpool team. But, that was the one. I mean, that was the one you had to have. Now I think you could say the same about this one. I mean, it was PSG's first, and they were a deserving winner. But this was supposed to be their Champions League,
This has to be pretty close to it. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask a Barca fan to see which one's more devastating. Because, I mean, realistically, the Liverpool one was that one was just unprecedented. We had never seen it. A team come back from 3-0 down. I mean, we thought
against
Real
Messi.
Madrid could try to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
against Arsenal of all fucking teams, but we're like, well, this is a Barcelona team that still has Messi in it, that still has that core, still had Suarez, and they just completely got thrashed. But I mean, obviously that is ancient history now. But I mean, with now it's pretty close to it.
Trent's
I
a
mean,
Real Madrid player now.
I've never I saw things the banter thing. I never seen a team come back just to go back. Like that Barcelona came back against Inter just to go back and lose.
I've never seen that.
We had
I don't
never
think I've
seen
ever
it.
seen that before either.
Like because a
It was
team
there. They had it.
the
I was
comeback,
like, it's
yeah,
over.
they came
Was it a
back from
couple minutes
2-0
left?
down to and then take the lead at the 80th, then to draw and then lose. I mean,
Rafinha scores the winning goal. It's the Ballon d'Or moment. Oh my God, Rafinha just won the Ballon d'Or. That's what I was thinking in my head.
he really thought it was over, bro. But I mean, it was something. I mean, and that was that part of the campaign that made us want to come back. I mean, it would have been nice to talk about that at the time, but we're gonna try and ease back into a little bit and just be more casual and talk about these games because you gotta. We just like talking about it. I mean, it's just hard. It's just been the love for the game.
And the thing is, and part of the thing, we talked about it anyway. You know what I mean? We're sitting there, we're talking about it anyway. We might as well. You know what I mean? What are we doing? You know, why not? We might as well.
And it gives us a bit more of a chance to be more in depth about it because sometimes we have those conversations in chat, but they'll eventually just kind of revert to
we're sending whatever meme
or just
or
Twitter posts or whatever, and whatever we see on Twitter. We all have our pages we want that'll take the piss out of whatever player we don't like. Like I have like 3 people I follow that just take the piss out of Barca. So it's just it just what it ends up divulging to. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're definitely gonna want to talk about in the coming days, but we don't want to make this like a 5-day. Yeah, like this shit. I had to see this every day.
Titolos in 2025.
I had to see this shit. And it's like, well, Madrid did win titles. We did win trophies this season, but I mean, it's
the
just
4-3 was your trophy. That's the Champions League.
Woo! It's a part of it. So I mean, we're gonna try and be a bit on top of it more and just make some videos every now and then. Not to the crazy extent that we were before, because we all kind of have lives. I mean, this is our casual hobby. So
yeah,
we're gonna just have more fun with it.
Yeah, 100%. There's no guarantees. We haven't quite got that far yet, but we definitely wanted to just kind of dip the toes back in, get the feet wet, and talk about this, the stuff that had happened, and ultimately kind of get ready because we want to be able to talk about the stuff that's about to happen. You know what I mean? So we had to get this first one out of the way so that we could kind of ease our way back in and get ready because there's a lot happening in the world of football, especially nowadays. I mean, the season just ended and it feels like in a week and a half or whatever it is to the World Cup, that's the next season. It's starting again already. Boom, we're already right back in the thick of it. Boom, trophies on the line. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's essentially year round now. Tough for the players, but as a fan, I can't say I'm not loving it. I'm not gonna lie.
They get paid enough. They get paid
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's a conversation that can be an hour long in and of itself. It's a conversation for another day. I'm sure we'll have time to do that one. But without further ado, if you have any other final talking points or anything you wanted to say, we can go ahead and wrap this one up.
No, I think we're all good.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the revamp, to the welcome back, to the we back, because that's still the title of it. We back. We're back. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again soon. And we'll see y'all then. Peace.